All right, we are live on both YouTube and Facebook. Welcome back to Assessment Immersion Training. Look, if you haven't been to one of these live streams before, the reason why I do these is because we have very deep dive trainings, but in the training sessions, you only have so much time to cover so much. And so I want to make sure that even in a very intensive, in-depth immersion training, as we are in right now with assessment immersion training, which is just another way of saying that we're training coaches on how to use assessment technology to get accelerated, deeper, and wider results with a variety of clients, corporate and otherwise. But coming back to the point here, is the reason why we do these live streams is to make sure that our students get every possible stone unturned to make sure that they gather details and finer points on what we've been working on. So today we're going to talk about how to customize your coaching. And, you know, it's funny because you'd think that this is not a conversation that I really need to have with a lot of coaches, but I also have found that so many coaches want like their idea to be the one solution for their client that this conversation needs to be had. So this one's going to be short tonight or today or whatever it is, whatever time it is for you. We're now in week 3 of assessment immersion training. Hopefully you're watching this week 3 or before. But if you're not, I can understand because I'm probably doing this a little late for week 3 to actually hear this. But anyway, let's get to the point here. How do you customize your coaching? How do you do it? The point and my thesis for this particular live stream is very simple. Different solutions for different clients. You got to have different solutions for different clients because it's not a one size fits all deal. Let me explain it this way. I remember I got my first car. I mean, this is like 30 years ago now or something like that, 25, 30 years ago, something like that. And my first car was actually not even a car, it was a van. And I had some very particular needs that I wanted to fill. I wanted to make sure that I could pack my windsurfers inside my van and go anywhere and then just bring everything out and go windsurfing, and everything's protected from the elements. And it was just going to be like the perfect way to get from A to B with all of my activities that I wanted to do. Mainly at the time, it was windsurfing, a little bit of sailing, wind sports was a big thing for me when I was like in high school, right? So I got this van. I'm just totally in love with it. I think it's amazing. And, you know, it worked. Like I went windsurfing and I could pack all my windsurfers, 2 or 3 of them inside the van. I had a rack on top so I could put extra stuff on top if I needed to, all my sails and equipment and whatever, straps, harnesses, etc. would all go inside the van. And it was just like this huge cargo space, right? Covered, protected from the elements. So I was really happy with it. Didn't even have to strap anything down, just throw it in there, right? And so it was like the perfect solution for me. And then I found out that when you have a van and you're 16 and a half and you're a junior in high school, suddenly everybody wants to be your friend, right? They all want you to drive them to school rather than having to take the bus. And of course, you know, with a van, I could pack, you know, 5, 6 kids in my van, and I'd get everybody where I was like, you know, on my own little bus ride for these guys, right? So it was just perfect. And then, you know, I had some particular issues in high school where I would stay up late and I would have to get up early to get to school, and would drive to school after a while. And I was driving home, and, you know, in the afternoon, it's on 5 hours sleep, you get kind of tired. And eventually I finally got to the point where I crashed my van. I fell asleep, totaled the van, no more car. But luckily, the insurance covered me, and it was enough to get me a second car. Not quite as fancy as the van, but I got this little Ford Escort, right? A manual transmission, and it's like, okay, you know, it was a late model car, relatively speaking, and it would get me from A to B, right? So it was better than not having a car at all. And I found, though, it was a lot harder when you went windsurfing. You had to put everything on top, and it was not a great solution for me there. I still could bring a couple friends to school. I did also find, though, that the parking opportunities were much more diverse than with my Dodge Caravan at the time. So it, gave me easy access to my stuff with a little hatchback, and I could park wherever I wanted to park. So the point was that, I had all these different solutions throughout like my young life, and they gave me different things, but because I had customized needs, there was really only one solution that was the perfect solution for me at the time. And of course, I wasn't able to enjoy that forever because I crashed my car, right? But the point being, everybody's got different needs. Everybody has a different profile, as we know in assessment immersion training. And you've got to be able to find the best solution. You don't want to be giving some windsurfing kid a Ford Escort. You want to give them the perfect solution. That's your job. That's what you get paid for. You don't want to do that? Well, maybe you're not worth your fee. I mean, this is maybe it's considered a luxury service, but it needs to be a good fit. So different car equals a different way to produce a result, different way to get from A to B, different resources available for me as the young kid that I was trying to go windsurfing. And it's the same thing for your client. Your client has different needs than somebody else, and they're frankly a different individual as well. So there's so many solutions for different clients, and most coaches, as I mentioned a second ago, want their idea to be the one solution for every client. And this is backwards. It's out of sync with reality. Instead, you need to assess what solutions your client may need, and then work with your client to select a solution, something customized, that will actually work for who they are and what they need. Not who they aspire to be, not who you wish they were. I see a lot of coaches that they're like, well, this is the way everyone should be, and this is like the perfect way to be. And we're also going to talk about today, like why that might be the case for those coaches also, like what they might be overvaluing. But the point being, they say, okay, well, this is the way everybody should be. So until they're that person, like they're not going to succeed. Well, what if they never become that person? What if that's just not naturally who they are? Are you just like, well, they're just not coachable? A lot of coaches say that. A lot of coaches use the not coachable thing as an excuse. Don't let yourself be that coach. You want to be a coach. Ideally, this is my opinion. If you're asking for it, you should be a coach that could coach anybody, anytime, anywhere. Not because everyone is so coachable, not because everyone's so perfect, not because everybody's, like the client that can reach the top of the mountain and be your perfect client, but because you are, as a coach, someone who can customize for different people, and you're not just trying to be a one-size-fits-all coach. You're not trying to be a one-size-fits-all solution. You want custom fit. That is what we're after. So I'll give you one more metaphor for this before we actually get into, the nuts and bolts of this. Again, as I was saying here, you have your client. You want to have your solution not just be a pretty package. You want to know that this is a good fit. Just like, and this is my horrible rendition of a puzzle piece, just like a puzzle piece fits in another puzzle piece, you want it to be hand in glove, so to speak. And every client is a different puzzle piece. They're shaped different. They act different. They have different behavioral and value profiles, as you know, if you're in our training. And we got to make sure that we're connecting those puzzle pieces just right. Your solution is one of the puzzle pieces, but your client is another one. If you understand the puzzle piece that your client is, you probably know your solutions. Hopefully you got more than one, right? So if you know the puzzle piece that is your solution and who it tends to fit for, you should also, if you know your client, be able to fit them with the right solution. That's part of what you can explore with your client. And ideally, it's your job. Ideally, it's your job to you need to be figuring this out either for your client or with your client at a minimum. As a coach, it's not your job to have every answer, but you need to have enough answers to be able to start to outline what the puzzle pieces actually look like. Does that make sense? And part of what we have available in our tool chest as great coaches in an assessment immersion training is a set of assessments that they're not there to for you to figure out your puzzle piece, but they're there to kind of take a snapshot of this. It's the same color. It's horrible. Speaking of solution, take a snapshot of this, your client. Let's say this is your client, right? So you can see what the outlines and what the, what the metrics of your client tend to be, right? And then again, like I said, you should know your solutions well enough that you know which ones will fit or how to fit these together. Does that make sense? So it's a little bit of a metaphor that'll kind of help you get your hands around this. So let's actually look at our assessments and what we can assess in someone, and then how it actually fits with ways that you offer solutions. Remember, part of what you're here to do as an assessment coach is to be strategically effective. We call it strategic effectiveness, which is to effectively clarify with your client, support them in clarifying or clarify for them the problem and the solution. So we've been talking about how these things help us understand what the problem's likely to be and actually predict that to some extent. But what about the solution? Can you predict the right solution? Can you facilitate connecting the dots with the perfect solution for your client within a good assessment and being a good assessment coach? Yes, you can. So strategic effectiveness, clarifying problem, clarifying solution, this is going to help you with that. And then just working with them on strategy, which is just another way of saying, what's the solution that's going to make a difference, right? If I'm in a situation X, let's say like my situation in my business is I don't have enough time to do all the things I need to do. I'm working with 3 different partners on 3 different projects, and none of them are necessarily landing in the bank perfectly. So I can't really like afford just to throw money at it. And so somebody might say, well, your solution is to prioritize, or your solution is triaging, or your solution is focus, or your solution is profitability, or your solution is outsourcing, or your solution is hiring better, right? Now, by the way, any of those things could be a solution. I mean, trust me, I've thought about my situation, so I know most of those are solutions I've either tried or conceptualized or discussed with a coach, right? So, we need to know. I need to know. If you're my coach, I need to know which one of those is the primary solution and why. Why should I buy into that solution over the other one? Because if I've got 10 solutions spinning around in my head as let's say a business owner, and I just think, well, any of them could maybe work or maybe help, but which one's going to help the most? Which one's the most likely to work? And which one's the most likely to work knowing who I am? Not just where my business is at, but where I'm at. Well, that's where the assessments come in. So you want to be able to discuss with your client what the best solution would be for them. And there's 2 ways to define this. And I'll just write this up at the top so you're thinking about this. One way to define the best solution is it, will it work, right? Is it actually going to work? A lot of solutions could work, but what will work? What's the most likely to work? Right? We want to be able to prioritize that depending on who our client is. And the second facet to this is it one that the client will, let's call it accept. It's one that your client will accept. Will they buy it, right? Will they buy it? Will they accept it? And when will it work? Okay, will it work? Will they buy or accept it? And here's the great thing. Knowing which solution will work for that client is partially, not completely, but partially defined by their behavioral profile, their behavioral style, the way they act to communicate, how they deal with problems, people, pace, and procedures. It also can sometimes be partially defined by, or you can extrapolate whether it'll work or not from what they believe and value as well. Now, will they buy or accept it? Once again, more so it's going to be like what they buy into will be based partially on what their beliefs are and what they value most. And so we're probably going to go like for will they buy or accept it, it's probably going to be more driven by their value sets. But again, will they buy into it or accept it will partially be driven by their behavioral profile and how they deal with pace and procedure and rules and optimism and problems and goals and stuff like that too. Very much a part and parcel to it. So will it work is probably going to be more defined just by behavior and partially, so, just a little bit by values, and then vice versa for will they buy or accept it. It'll be somewhat defined by their behavioral profile and much more so defined by their values. So let me give you a case study. I'm going to give you a couple, actually. I'm going to give you one just off the cuff here because we're talking about splitting, like, will it work or will they accept it? Let me give you an example. So I was working with actually a family member, somebody very close to me, on something that they could do for business. And I had learned at the time all about a newsletter business where you do email newsletters and you generate a huge email list online, and then you sell ads in the newsletter, and it's like really profitable. Like huge businesses are generated. These are basically direct marketing focused businesses, right? And so I said to her, you should be doing this direct marketing business, because if we work on this together, or if I teach you how to do this, it's the secrets is the universe, you're going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's going to be amazing, right? And so we actually scheduled a retreat where we got together for 2 days just to plan out this business, because it was like, this is it. This is going to be amazing. I was excited about it. She was excited about it. We're like, this is going to be awesome. So we got together. And I said, look, there's this training. I'm going to take you through the training because I teach you what to do. And then we started watching these videos from a training, because I had the blueprint, right? And we watch a couple hours of videos, and I'm taking all these notes, and we talk about it and everything. And then we break for lunch, right? Go have lunch. And as we were having lunch, she starts to say, you know what? Like, this is really involved. Like I don't know how I'm going to get all this handled. I mean, this looks like very detailed. Like, we just barely got through module 1 of 7, and we're like halfway done with a day. How are we even going to learn this stuff? And I was like, well, we really got to work on this, because there's a lot of money at stake, and this is going to be amazing business, and we just got to take it slow, right? And she's like, I don't know. And you could tell she was like not on board with it anymore. But, we were there and she'd committed. So we went back and we started working on it again, and we were covering all this stuff, and we were hashing out what our brand was going to be, and what our market positioning was going to be, and slogan. Well, it was like designing all this business stuff, going back into the tutorials and working on stuff for like really detailed, right? And that was basically the end of day 1. Day 2, we got up, started working on it again, but we had to check out, and we only got a couple hours of work in. We're driving home, and I remember her saying, you know what, I don't really know if I can help you with this. I don't really know if I can do this. I don't really know if you can work with me on this, because like, I don't have the patience for all this. I'm not that detailed. And so nothing ever came from that. Like, we basically wasted 2 days on that. And by the way, this family member, I was like, this is an executive. This is somebody who ran billion-dollar businesses. I mean, they can do anything, right? But I learned from that experience, they can't do that. They can't do that thing. And looking back on it, knowing this individual's profile, this person was extremely high D. So they were more of a ready, fire, aim type. They were more action oriented, and they were extremely low on the C. So they were very low in research and measuring twice and cutting once and all that. I could go on and on about this, but the point I'm making is, for this person, it wasn't going to work, and they were willing to try. But that type of business was so detailed, and there was so much tech, and there was so much planning, and so much market positioning to work on, and so much like, just like, it was a whole business. You really had to construct the thing from scratch, that this individual, who was more of a kind of like a, shoot first and ask questions later type of person, they had to get an immediate result and then build on that. This business was something that took months to plan and build, and slowly you created and built something. Wrong business for them. They would not buy into it. They would not accept it ultimately, and it would not have worked for them. I mean, you could have forced them to do that work, but I doubt it would have ever went anywhere. So there's one case study. Here's another one. There is a client I work with named Wendy, and Wendy, she is getting to the point where she really needs to start investing for retirement. Or she ain't gonna have anything to retire on, eventually as she gets older. So, and she hasn't really set a plan for herself in this way yet. So, she's kind of searching for solutions, right? So I sent her my solution. I said, Wendy, this is the solution. And by the way, I'm very, as you might imagine, I'm very theoretically driven, and I'm pretty detailed. So those are aspects of my profile. So, and then we'll get to all these in a second. I'm going to cover the details, but I just want to give you some examples here first, so you get the gist of it. So I'm very into things that are interesting, and will I learn something from it? Is there information that I can go through? I like to research, and I like to be very measured. So that's part of my approach, detailed and theoretically driven, like knowledge driven. I figure, if I have enough knowledge, I can win, right? So I sent her my solution, what I thought was a really good solution. And by the way, this is fairly recently that I made this mistake. So I sent her, I said, here's all the YouTube videos to research. And that's one of the easy ways I research. I'm making lunch, and I could push on YouTube, and the algorithm just pushes me great information that I can learn from so I can be better, right? And so I know, hey, these are all the things you need to check out so you can learn how to invest for retirement. And a couple months go by, and we have another session, and she says, I tried to watch all that stuff that you sent me, but it was too boring. Like after a minute of watching it, I said, this is too boring. I can't make it through this. And the reason why that happened is because her solution that would work for her was not theoretical. She was fairly low theoretically driven. She didn't like to learn new stuff. Okay. And she was fairly low C, so she didn't enjoy research and getting into details about things. And she was very ready, fire, aim. She likes to talk about things. She's very high I, right? She networks her way to success. And she's also very economically driven in her values. She wants big gains, big ROI. And she also wants to know that she'll have influence out of whatever she's doing as well. So she wanted her solution has nothing to do with researching how to invest, right? Could care less about that, had zippo in terms of interest. So her solution would have been more like, make a big commitment and try to meet it. Like, just fire your gun and just try to win. And get a big win right up front, like I was mentioning with that family member before. This is a regular thing. I get excited about my side of things. I forget about who I'm actually offering the solution to, right? So she needed to make a big commitment and try to meet it. And when she came back to me in that next session and said, that was too boring, I'm not going to watch any of that stuff, I shifted. Luckily, I realized, and I should have known this before, I should have just looked at her profile and realized what was going to be a better fit. And I said, you know what? It's gonna be too boring for you to watch these videos and learn this stuff and go through these courses and everything. You don't need to read the books. It would be good if you did, but you're not gonna do that. Let's just get real. So you need to just get a win under your belt, and then maybe you'll be more motivated to do the next thing. And so I said, okay, Wendy, I want you to do this. I want you to take. Find a because retirement and savings and all that kind of stuff, other than just she had some savings. It was like other than just having an asset that's gonna increase in value. It's all about yield. It's about giving. You put $10 into something. How much are you gonna get out? You're gonna get $10 back. You can get $3 back. You get nothing back. on a regular basis, because if you're going to retire, well, you need income to retire on, right? So if you have something that yields you something every year, every month, every quarter, or whatever, like a good piece of real estate or a dividend stock, something like that, well, you could live on that. You could actually live on those dividends, so to speak. So I said, you know what? There are businesses that are perfectly good businesses, stable businesses, respected businesses today that aren't going out of business anytime soon, and you will get sizable amounts of cash back if you make an investment immediately. You make an investment today, you're going to start making money. Literally, you're going to start making passive income. You know, this whole thing on the internet about passive income is so awesome. And you know, you just do a couple things and then you're just going to sit on a beach, you know, making money for life. Well, anybody with any money to invest can make that instantly in a reasonable way, just by investing in, you know, something that pays a dividend, right? There's lots of things that do that. I was just showing her the most obvious. So I said, look, just go find a good, like, blue chip company that's never going to die, you know, Coca-Cola, AT&T, you know, like something that you know, you trust and believe is a good brand that's got a good moat, so to speak, which means it can defend its position in the marketplace. Don't worry about the financials and everything. Like, I mean, read some articles on it maybe, but just get an account and put it. You should have like 40,000 to invest. I said, put 1,000 into that, but, you know, get something that's got good, you know, good yield, like 5%, 10%, 8%, something like that, where you're going to get a really good dividend from it. And then when you put $1,000 into that, you're going to get $80 back, like this year. And then next year, you're going to get another $80. And, you know, in 10 years, your entire investment will have paid for itself. And then you're going to continue to get money till the day you die off of that, as long as the business stays fresh. But I want you to actually, like, put some money into something, get a win by seeing the money come back to you. Then you're going to be motivated to do something. I gave her a ready, fire, aim approach, which the D needs. They need to get a momentary result. They need to feel that they got a win that they can actually see big gains from, because she was economically driven. So she could see some gains. Now, there's some other things that might not be perfect in terms of that approach, but they'll actually possibly buy into that approach and accept it. And it's something that will actually work for them if they do it. So if I had been walking my talk here, and what I'm asking you to do, which is to see this ahead of time and then provide solutions to your clients that are going to be a good fit for them, I wouldn't have told her what I told her first. I wouldn't have had to pivot later on, because I was thinking from my own perspective. I was made that mistake. This is very recently. Any coach can do this. Any coach can screw up like this, right? Even if it seems like it's the right answer. I should have known, because I've got her assessment results. Should have known what approach would have worked better for you, or for her. Sorry, thinking about you now. And so, you know, I've learned my lesson. You know, I'm never going to do that again with her. I know that she's got a ready, fire, aim. By the way, with that same client, she has actually scheduled big events in the past that put her under pressure to perform. And then she's delivered and performed well, and actually gotten a win under her belt by making a big commitment, ready, fire, aim, and just try to meet it. Just do the best you can to win. And under that kind of pressure, she gets rolling. But without that kind of pressure, she doesn't perform. So we'll see. We'll see how that works. I haven't completed that case study yet, but I bet you that's going to work a lot better if she actually follows through on it than what she attempted to do before, where I made my mistake. So let's actually run through the different aspects of just behavior and motivators, behavior and values profiles, and what kind of solutions make sense. And then we'll talk about how you can dive deep into a client and give them like the perfect solution for them, which many clients are expecting from you, since you're supposed to be this amazing, expensive coach, right? So in the behavioral profiles, which basically just means, if you're not in our training, just basically means how somebody knee-jerk instinctually operates, how they talk, how they communicate, how they move, how they position themselves in their life, like what their instinctual, like knee-jerk reaction to the world is, okay? And so the D tells us how somebody deals with goals and problems, and Ds that are fairly high are ready, fire, aim type of people. So what works for Ds would generally be ready, fire, aim type of solutions. So think of this from a business perspective. Like, are there ready, fire, aim businesses out there? You bet there are. There's plenty of businesses you can start in a week or two. I mean, a coaching business you can start in like a month or less. So for Ds, coaching business, great. Real estate business, great. There are sales, great. Anything where you got to promote, be a big promoter and just go public with something. Ds love that kind of stuff, right? Well, let's think about a different part of life. Let's say relationship. How would you provide, like a D who's trying to meet somebody new and is trying to go find somebody great to date, a new boyfriend or girlfriend? How might you offer them a solution in a relationship side of things or a dating side? Well, ready, fire, aim approach would be they better get a date soon. Right? It can't be something where they're going to have a makeover and they're going to research who they are and all this kind of stuff. They got to just get out there and start hitting the ball with the bat. I have a client who recently got divorced, and like 2 weeks after she got divorced, she immediately was out there dating. Right? Literally she was kind of dating before she got a divorce, but that's another story. Okay. So the point of the matter is that she was ready, fire, aim, I know a lot of high Ds, men and women, who, like they're in a relationship and they're already out of the relationship in terms of the way they're operating, in terms of like going out with somebody else before they left the first one, because they're so like chasing after the results, right? Now, I'm not saying that's the most ethical thing to do, but it's very natural for a ready, fire, aim type of person, right? They could actually get results through that type of process. So getting on a dating site tomorrow or going out to a bar tonight might be a really good solution for a D who needs results, this time yesterday, right? What about, let's say, a health result? Say this person needs to lose 30 pounds. Well, you don't lose 30 pounds overnight, but there are solutions that'll get you to lose 10. Keto can lose 10 pounds in like a week or two, right? Intermittent fasting is a great solution for, if you do it healthfully. And I'm not trying to give you health advice. I'm not a doctor, so don't sue me. But the point being, there are certain solutions. You can start cutting weight like really fast. Strategies that'll work like that. Okay. There are other solutions that probably longer term are smarter, healthier. But for a D, they'll never buy into those in the short term, at least. You got to start them on a journey and then move them in a bit even better direction. Chances are they'll probably never even get off the starting blocks. Is this making sense? So, again, any part of life, any part of the wheel of life, whatever kind of coach you are, different solution for a D than you might offer generically. Make sense? All right. What about an I? So an I's position in life is like all about people and optimism, and their way of getting a solution is to network their way there or to just talk their way through it. Like, I have to talk about a result like a million times because as an I got to talk before I actually do anything with it, right? That's the way I's do it. They talk for 10 years and they act for 1, right? So for an I, like a business, it has to be conversationally based, right? It's got to be centered around people or a network, right? That kind of business is going to be a better fit. And they're going to need to spend time meeting with people that already do that business probably before they even think about doing it. They're going to have to make friends in that business, right? Have you ever heard somebody who got fired, but they have friends in the industry, so they got another job really fast? It's like they're probably an I, or they may have an I, or in their profile, at least they act like it, right? So relationship-wise, they're probably going to need to be talking to people on the phone, probably 5-10 times before they get together, unless they're a D, right? So because they need to and they need to talk to you about it 10 times also. Now they'll be talking to their friends about who they're going to date rather than just talking to the person they're going to date, right? Because that's another way for them to enjoy the process as a people person, as a connector, as a talker, right? And of course, their network is they could probably get referrals to the right dates, So, you see the difference between the way an I might get a dating solution versus a D. It's a very, very different solution, right? If we were talking about like a health result, same thing, like losing weight, let's say. Well, An I is going to want to join other, like a CrossFit workout where you do it with everyone else there. It's like a group coaching session working out. Like I's probably love that kind of stuff. Me, when COVID hit and I couldn't go to the gym, I had to work out by myself alone, not just by myself in the gym, but by myself alone. It's like it was much harder to motivate myself as an I because there was no network. I wasn't there with everyone else. I used to go to hour and a half hot yoga classes, which was just like kill me. It was a great workout, but I was more motivated in those yoga classes than anywhere else because I was around everyone else. I was around other people. That was really effective for me for years that I did that. It was really challenging to do it elsewise. So moving on to the S. And S is their solutions are going to be more slow and steady wins the race. Okay, they're going to need tried and true things that they can do and kind of plow their way forward slowly, steadily, etc. So slowly built businesses that don't expect a lot of results up front might be great for an S. Ways where they can dip their toe in the water and slowly try some things before they commit, let's say. Let's say if we did a relationship solution for an S, they're going to need somebody who's a really perfect fit for them that they can be comfortable with meeting. They're going to need a profile, like an online dating solution or a networking solution that's going to be much more tailored, like where they spend $1,000 and they get interviewed and they have somebody who's kind of like concierging them with the right person, because they're not going to just do it by themselves like a D with a ready, fire, aim, and they're not going to talk their way through it and network their way there like an I, right? So, and then finally the C. The C is more detail oriented. Their position in life is more around like being really careful, precise. They're going to be much more fear driven in their approach to getting results. So they're going to research everything. Their slogan is like measure twice and cut once kind of thing. So once again, you can think about how you might offer different solutions in your area to that individual versus a D. I mean, it's probably the opposite thing, right? And this is a bit of a spectrum depending on what kind of result we're talking about. Let's move over to values. Values and motivators are like more emotional drives that somebody has, why they're after what they're after, why they get up in the morning and do anything, no matter how they do it, right? So the DISC answers the question, how. So that's how they might produce a result or get a result. And the values, I should write this out, values, but values answer the question, why. Right? So this is a lot more about what they'll buy into and accept, but there are also aspects of this that you can extrapolate beliefs from and approaches that they'll tend to take in terms of what will likely work for them as well, not just based upon their own motivations, but that's extrapolated from them. So let's talk about some of these. So an aesthetically driven individual, they're going to want something that's a perfect fit and beautiful. I remember there's a family member that was trying to select a house. No, she wasn't even looking for a house. She already had a decent house, but she found the perfect floor plan, most beautiful floor plan for a house. And she just bought the house just because it was the perfect floor plan. She just made a snap decision about it. So if you're trying to offer a solution, like a business solution for an aesthetic, it's going to have to be like Star Trek, it's going to have to be like Utopia, it's going to have to be something that focuses on beauty, probably. Okay. Or it's at least going to have to be something that's highly designed and a perfect fit in their eyes, at least. And that's going to take a while, probably. When it comes to like dating and relationship coaching and things like that, like somebody who's highly aesthetic, also, again, they're going to be driven for perfection. So it's going to create challenges that you might imagine. But again, the fit that they'll have to have with somebody will have to be quite a bit more perfect than most other people who will accept someone that might not be exactly the right mate for them. Let's say they're going to be much more perfectionist when it comes to that. Let's move on to the economically driven people. Again, they want really good ROI. So they're going to be looking for a big gain from whatever solution is offered. So like, again, going back to dating, an economically driven person is going to want, to marry somebody or get together with somebody who's really going to benefit them, to be around them, right? They're not just going to do it just because they can contribute to their mate, right? They're like, hey, I want somebody who's got a lot of power, a lot of money, somebody who's makes me look good. It's got to have to be some big benefit in their mind, or else they're not going to be in a relationship. They're just not, right? When it comes to business, same thing, right? And then again, when it comes to health solutions, like again, a weight loss kind of thing, they're going to want to be able to get the most out of a workout. I remember Tony Robbins recommended this. I can't even remember what it's called. It's this contraption. It costs like $15,000, right? In fact, I don't even know you can buy it. I think you have to rent it, right? And it's this big like rowing machine, but you row with your legs also, and you do all this pushing and pulling, and there's this flywheel. It's really hard to move, and you got to do it for like, well, you only do it for like 7 or 8 minutes. It's like a 7-minute workout, but it's full out and it's exhausting. You're dead by the end of the workout, right? And you just build great muscles and you lose weight, you burn tons of calorie, 7 or 8 minutes a day, right? It's really expensive. It's an uncomfortable solution, but you get a big ROI out of the time and energy that you put in. Other people who aren't big on economics, they'll just walk for an hour, right? And they can lose the same weight, burn the same calories, right? Not Tony Robbins. He's economically motivated. He's going to look for the big ROI, right? So let's move on to individualistic motivations. These individuals need a solution that's going to keep it flexible. They're going to want to make sure that things will leave them free, or at least the solution doesn't cost them anything. It's like free for them. It's not going to cost them any independence or freedom. And they want to know that there's going to be ongoing options. So like, what's a business where they aren't like locked down? What's a business solution where they'll be able to like change how they operate in that business later on, right? Where they'll be able to find their own way, right? What's a relationship like that? I mean, can you imagine somebody who's individualistic getting in a relationship? I coach a lot of individualistic people, never get in a relationship because it takes away their freedom in their mind, right? And so they're going to need a relationship that allows them to be like free to be with somebody, then free to not be with them, right? Like that's literally what an individualistic individual is likely to be looking for in some way, shape, or form. Not guaranteed with all of them, but it's a tendency. Let's move on to political. Political people, that motivation is about influence. It's about being able to influence others. So who's going to know about this solution I'm using? What will they think of it? Like a lot of people will just take a solution just because it looks good to other people because it gains them influence. And they won't take a solution if it loses them influence. Will they gain or lose influence from that solution? Like people want to know. There was a member of my mastermind who quit the mastermind because somebody in the mastermind, he felt that person was buying into conspiracy theories. And this individual was very politically, kind of on the left, and they had very specific beliefs about conspiracy theories that come more from the right. And so he felt like he was going to look really bad to his friends and people around him and like politically and in business if he was a part of mastermind where somebody in the mastermind had an opinion that was a little to the right of his and was maybe kind of conspiracy theoristic, right? He just literally, like this guy said, they had a little argument about what was true about Bill Gates and whatever. And the next day he quit. He's just like, hey, I'm out. Like I can't be in a mastermind where somebody's into conspiracy theories. That was it. It was a really, really valuable mastermind for him. That gave him massive breakthroughs in his life. Bounced from the mastermind. Why? I'm guessing it's because it lost him influence as he was highly politically motivated. Very politically motivated. Wasn't a politician, but knew everything about politics. Was very influential in his particular industries as well. Nicest guy in the world. Everybody fell in love with him because he was very influential. Altruistic motivations. An altruist is not going to take on a solution that doesn't allow them to contribute a lot or find a way to contribute with that solution. How will they be able to give more to people? So a business that only is for them, they're not going to like that. They're not going to be into that. A relationship that just gives them everything they want, but they don't have a way to give back because that person doesn't like need them, let's say. It's going to be horrible for them. A lot of altruists will get into relationships with somebody that maybe they don't love, but that other person needs them because they get to contribute. They'll stay in a relationship for decades just because they get to contribute. May not be the best relationship for them either, right? So hopefully you get the idea. Different solutions that different people will buy or accept. Regulatory. They're going to be asking questions about your solution. Does it fit my rules? Does it fit in with my belief systems? What I like to call BS. Because regulatory people, they've got to have their beliefs and make sure that those beliefs are a really good fit. And then finally, theoretical. This is a big one for me. Is the solution interesting? Is it boring? Is it like the same thing over and over again? Will I learn something? Like if you give me a business that's like, it's very repetitive, it's the same thing every day, but you can make tons of money, like I'm never going to be interested in that. Not because I don't like money. I'm actually fairly economically motivated now, but my theoretical is too high. And I'll be like, I'm not going to learn anything for this. This is boring. It's the same thing every day. Like I would kill myself doing that. So high theoretical business solution. It's not just about the money for them. It's got to be about learning, teaching, something interesting, something they can really sink their teeth into, become an expert at, let's say. Can you imagine theoretical in relationship, right? This is going to, like, I'm going to need a mate I can learn from, right? If I can't see how I'll learn from this person or how I'll learn with them, it's going to be really uninspiring for me as a theoretical, right? So, or I'll be really like underfulfilled or unfulfilled in that relationship unless I find other ways to get this met elsewhere. And even there, I'm not going to want to spend as much time in that relationship because that theoretical is not met. Is this making sense? So these motivators they literally predict what solutions, what strategies from you to your client that your client will buy into or accept. And the DISC or the behavioral profile will tell us which one is more likely to work for them in the long term as well. And by the way, here's where we're really going to go high level here. And we don't have time to cover this a lot, but imagine somebody who is, let's say, high D, high economic, both. So you're going to need to give them a solution that gives them fast results, but big gains probably simultaneously, right? Whether it's a relationship or a health solution or it's a business. A lot of highly economically and high D motivated people love like biohacking. Biohacking is not usually the healthiest thing in the long term, but they love it because they can take a pill or they could do they could take a bath in ice water or some just ridiculous thing, right? But it's fast. Like, hey, you want to lose a lot of weight? Take 5-minute baths every day in ice water. You're going to lose weight like crazy because it just sucks all the energy out of you. You'll hate your life for that 5 minutes or probably more. You're just looking forward to that every day. It's got to be hell, right? But economic, ready, fire, aim type of person like Tony Robbins does a cold plunge every single morning, every day of his life. He loves that. He hates it. He's like, I want to do something I hate doing it right at the beginning of the day to teach my brain that I could do anything because I'm going to totally, get the biggest ROI and I'm going to ready, fire, aim. That's him, right? It's him to a T. I would never do that. I might do it like once just because I'm hanging out with Tony Robbins, right? Hey, Robert. So just think about finding these solutions by looking at all the aspects that run somebody. Like if I'm an I and then I'm an altruist theoretical, which I used to be very much. I don't know if I still am, but I'm at least very theoretically driven. I'm going to need to talk and network my way to results over time. And I'm only going to do a solution that contributes and that's interesting. So your solution for me has got to be an interesting way to contribute while I bring other people on my way there. And notice if anybody is a part, you're a client of ours or you're in our trainings or you're a partner of ours or you're on our staff, it's like, what do we do all day? We talk to people in a great community and network where that we get to talk to in interesting ways. And we can constantly contribute. In fact, we contribute to people who contribute, talking about self-referential, right? This is my business, right? The relationships in my life are relationships where I can contribute and learn and connect and talk. Those are the relationships. You look at the solutions that have worked best for me health-wise, it's where I get to network, be a part of a group, talk about it a lot, and contribute at least to others through living, what I believe is best, and learn a lot about it so I know what's right. So the trick here is, if you really want to go high level on this, it's find solutions that fit each of these aspects that match your client. So here's your assignment as we go. You can always review this if you missed part of it, because you should be able to replay it pretty easily. Look at your client's graphs, look at their scores, and then what's the solution for each area that's high? Are they high S? Okay, well, slow and steady wins the race. What's a slow and steady solution for them in that area, right? Are they individualistic? What is a flexible, free, option-based solution that, increases their freedom in that area, right? And just write that down. Find singular, like, sniper shots for each area that they're high in. Here's a solution for that. Here's a solution for that. You get me? It's really super simple, right? Then look at their combined scores, like what combinations, like we just talked about, are fairly high. And then what is a hybrid solution that meets all of those highest areas? And, just pick like 2 or 3. Don't go crazy like, wow, they're high of all these 4 and high of all these 3, like an ISC. Just find the highest 1 or 2 from DISC, highest 1 or 2 from values. That's between 2 and 4 items, 2 and 4 traits, okay? And then what's the hybrid of all of those in the package of the solution for health, or the package of solution for relationships, or the package of solution for their business or their finances or whatever they're working on, right? Like, what's going to fit all 3 of those? And again, notice how I did this. I just took each of these kind of phrases and I combined them together. You need a solution that's going to give you big ROI and which will be slow and steady that wins the race. Or you need a solution that's where you can research and it's very measured and it'll fit your rules and your belief systems. It's just and. Make sense? It's all we're doing here. So ask yourself, like, the magic is in asking the question, what is a solution for George that will fit this, this, and this? What's a solution that gives them this, this, and this? Question mark. Ask yourself. This is not on a coaching session. It's just like while you're researching your next client call, right? And then write down what you come up with, like design something, right? Be creative with this, or at least be a problem solver. Be a good strategic coach here. What solutions would not go well or work also? Like, think back for the individual, like what's a solution that wouldn't work for an I? Something that they have to do all alone all the time, right? What's the solution that wouldn't work for, again, like an I, altruist, theoretical? Anything that is going to make it really hard to make a difference for people and that they won't learn anything from, right? So now we've gone hybrid on this. So what will go well, what won't go well, and here's the key question: why? You want to be able to connect the dots and come full circle. Here's what they are. Here's the solutions that'll work. Here's the solutions that won't. Here's why. Now you know it all, and you can bring that to your client in the next session where you're really going to connect the dots with them. And then they can validate, they can deny, right? They can verify, but at least it opened that conversation. So that's what I'm asking you to do. That is custom fitting or customizing your coaching, customizing your solutions for each client. If you could do this early on in the coaching relationship, you will win them over forever, because you're being so efficient, you're accelerating your ability to help them, and they're going to appreciate that you know them so well that you were able to cut through what, most coaches would just like throw just a generic platitude at them. That's not what we're after here. We're after customizing. Finally, tonight, whatever time you're watching this, my request for you is, as I would naturally do, to bring this to our network of fellow coaches and leaders, entrepreneurs, hiring agents, business owners, team leads, so that we can contribute to them and give to them in a way that maybe they've never gotten before because they've never seen this stuff, and that they'll get to learn and we get to teach. Share this with your clients, share this with your fellow coaches, share this with your fellow leaders, so we can really make a difference in those areas, especially if you're partner with me. My guess is you're probably somebody after those same value sets. But even if you're not, all you got to do in order to share this, you don't even have to press the share button and share it with somebody specifically. You just hit the like button on this video or wherever you're at, Facebook or YouTube. And the algorithm nowadays just finds people to contribute to, finds people to reach with what you learned tonight. So hope that made a difference for you. If you have any questions about this, let me know, and I will talk to you in week 4 of the Assessment Immersion Training. Take care until then.